Carl here from Brrraaains A Head-Banging Life, gbhblofficial for sure, and it's 31 days of Halloween. Taking us nostalgia goggles off and reliving childhood horror. The final three, yeah, we're counting down now. And when I think of this film, when I thought of this film before I rewatched it, I always come back to just one literal scene, which is the sight of Jeff Goldblum's fly monster thing spitting up the acidic vomit onto that poor character's leg and it melting away. That was it. That was all that came into my head, and I was like, well, that is enough. And then obviously I gave it a little more thought, and I was like, okay, then it's on his hand, and then I started to think of the visuals and the imagery and how it once again ties into my own personal sort of horror fears, which is my own difficulties I have watching body horror, transformational horror, where completely out of your control and there's nothing you can do about it, you end up being transformed slowly but surely into something horrific and monstrous, and your skin, your body, it breaks down and there's nothing you can do about it. That's The Fly. That's the remake of The Fly, and goddamn isn't it impressive. It is, like many on this list, a film that I do not think I could have ever fully appreciated as a child. Yes, as a child I can be wowed and stunned and horrified and amazed by the incredible visuals, and I can get a little bit like amused by the sort of sexual content involving Goldblum and Gina Davis, but I can't understand the nuances of their relationship, the nuances of why the change would be so important to him, the nuances of how much trouble she has dealing with this, what he becomes slowly but surely. All that stuff is lost on a youngster, whereas an adult I can appreciate that storytelling so much more. But both younger me and older me comes back to the same thing with this film. I come back to, oh my god, the goddamn gore, the violence, the visuals of this is all I'll ever really remember. And which is a shame, because I do think it's a great film overall, and it tells a damn good story and really does play around the whole science gone wrong side of things. But goddamn, it's just so impressive. Just incredible effects. Like even now I'm sitting, I'm thinking of the sort of final form of the fly, and how horrible that looks, and how good it looks, how well that damn thing holds up. But weirdly, as I said already at the start, the stuff that sort of stands up more as the in-between thing. Maybe because the fly at the end, the actual sort of egregious monster thing, is less believable as being anything human, whereas the sort of in-between part of his transformation is more real. I think that's what disturbed me as a kid, and it's certainly something I focused on as an adult. So you know, it's just, he's sort of falling apart, his skin is going all horrible looking, his hair's coming out, his nails are falling off, his teeth are falling out, all of those sort of elements. He looks like a very sick and ill human being rather than sort of any potential fly creature. That's the stuff that disturbed me the most. That's the stuff that I remember when I think about this particular film. And of course, goddamn, those effects, the melting, the pain that must have been like, that's just so horrible. Even when I think about it now, it makes me feel a little sick. I also, for some reason, always think about the childbirth, the maggot birthing scene at the very, very end. Maybe it's just the silliness of it, or maybe it's just the idea of, oh my god, how terrifying would that be? That that's what she gave birth to. And it's funny because obviously I would never have seen the Fly sequels as a youngster. I certainly didn't. But as an adult, I would later go and watch them and find, like, obviously how the second one works out. Who is it? The second one, the kid is actually the son of Seth Brundle, and how that plays out in comparison to the sort of ending fake out that we get with The Fly is quite funny. But I will be honest, like, as much as I love this film, this one might be one of the most stretched to put on this list. Because it didn't immediately jump to mind. This is one of those that came after, where I was looking at the list and thinking, okay, you're missing one or two, what would you put in there? And then having it basically almost like create a separate list of like, all right, what films do you like? And then go, well, why does this one jump out? What makes this one stand out? What makes that one stand out? There were a lot that sort of jumped in between here, but I settled on the fly, mainly because when I put it in my head and I said, what do you think of? I pictured the sort of sick Jeff Goldblum. I pictured the acidic vomit stuff being spat out on that dude and melting his leg and his hand. I pictured that. I pictured a maggot being held up by those frightened doctors. I pictured the final shot of the fully transformed Jeff Goldblum, the Brundlefly. I pictured all of that, and that felt like that was enough to talk about it. The issue I had was like, okay, how does that apply to your sort of childhood kind of thing? Because there's no fear here, and there's no real fascination aside from being impressed. But I think what I wanted to do with this was really see if how well it held up. I already knew it did. That's the thing in my head. I knew it did. But even still, to rewatch it, god damn, does this one hold up. No nostalgia gold was needed here. It is still brilliant. It is The Fly, the remake of The Fly, of course. What do you reckon? You got any thoughts on this one? You know what to do? Let me know in the comments. Thank you very much for watching. If you'd like to see more content like this, please consider hitting the subscribe button. It is gratefully appreciated. You can find us over at gbhbl.com, our full website where reviews, news and so much more goes up daily. We're also on all social media platforms, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, Threads, at gbhbl. Just search for gbhbl and you will find us out there. We also have merchandise on sale. You can access the shop via the website.